Hi my loves, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I know I am. It's like the most beautiful day here in Ireland. It's bloody freezing, but the sun is shining and it looks sensationally gorgeous. I am very late to the game here, and I'm actually probably going to call this late to the game. You guys were suggesting that I should review this. I put up a poll. I'll actually put the results of it somewhere here. It was like 87%, 86, I can't remember off the top of my head, but a huge percentage of you guys on Twitter said that you would like to see me review this. I know it's been out for like 2 months. I wasn't going to purchase it. I got a coupon code on Cult Beauty for like 15% off, so I said I was going to pick it up. This is Huda Beauty's nude palette. It is the most recent release from Huda's collections, or her makeup line rather, and this is what the palette looks like on the inside. So it is such a beautiful palette. It is kind of this like mauvey color on the outside, Huda's eyes, and then obviously nude, and she kind of has like a lace effect over the front of her eyes. And just when you open it, you get a very big mirror, which I'm always happy about, and a little card again with Huda's eyes on it. And this is the palette. Guys, it's not my first time seeing it, so I'm probably not as like overexcited as I should be. The first time ever seeing this palette. The first day I actually opened this, my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, oh my god, that is actually one of the most beautiful palettes I think I've ever seen in my whole life. Gorgeous tones. I don't think I'd necessarily call this a nude palette. I know she already has the mauve palette. I feel like the tones in this are a bit more mauvey and purpley than nude. However, we do have like a lot of earthy tones down here at the bottom, I guess. So like I said, I bought this palette on Cult Beauty. I just want to go through kind of a little bit of information regarding the palette, and then I'll talk about price, and then we'll do a couple of swatches before I do a tutorial on it. So this is described as highly pigmented and easy to blend. 18 eyeshadows in total. 10 are buttery matte. See, the mattes are pretty clear, like to see. 4 multi-reflective shadows. I'd say that's these chunky shadows. So this one here, Charmed, Fantasy, Crave, and Daydream. 2 pressed glitters, that's pretty obvious. Excite and Infatuated. 1 pressed pearl. Kinky is obviously a pressed pearl. And then 1 concealer, so the concealer is down here. So I purchased this palette from Cult Beauty. It was £56, and I think, like I said, I got a 15% discount code, which ended up making it like €54 or £54 rather, and I think with the currency conversion it was roughly under the €60 mark. Here in Ireland it's €68 to buy. From Huda Beauty's website, $65, so it's probably cheapest to buy it there. Sephora, $65. Sephora in Australia, $95. So that'll kind of tell you the price of it. It's a hefty price tag, guys. To be fair, you'd really want to like the products because the price tag is high and up there. I haven't had the best luck with Huda Beauty's eyeshadows in the past. I've tried her Desert Dust palette. That was okay. I liked her Rose Gold palette. I actually was a bit shocked that I liked that because I'd heard kind of mixed reviews of it. Her Mauve palette, you know, the little 9 shadows, I wasn't feeling them at all. It has a 12-month shelf life, and I would say possibly to adhere to that when it comes to the glitters, because I have heard like pressed glitters and stuff like this, like you kind of need to be careful with them, like using them by their sell by date and stuff like that. But I don't know, I've never kind of had pressed glitters like this in a palette. The other thing about this is obviously you have your pressed glitters, pressed loose shadows and stuff like that, and Huda does recommend to use your fingers with it. The only concern I kind of have from this palette right off the bat before even using it is probably the concealer shade here in the corner, because I feel like a sticky product, loose glitters, pressed shadows, stuff like that may fall into the concealer. The concealer might have been best to put up top here, or even if you're putting it down the bottom, maybe to have like a little flip lid on it or something. I don't know, maybe that's just kind of a thought of mine. So I'm going to swatch these shadows for you guys first to see how we get on. Start by swatching this way. First shadow I have here is Base. Next one is Crave. Got Play. These are actually going on so well in comparison to the other palette, the mauve one that I have, Fantasy. Oh my god, that is so pretty. Love Bite. So that shadow actually went on really well. It's just not very pigmented. I just topped up that shadow because it's not like super pigmented. It's not blotchy or anything like that. It's just, it needs a bit of work. And finally, my favorite shadow from looking at this palette is Spanked. Teeny little bit patchy tiny bit. Not really like anything too bad, but that's the first row. So next I'm going in with lace. Oh, that is gorgeous and really, really, really smooth. Daydream, which is one of the more chunkier shadows, and that actually comes off really nice. Tickle. Next I've got Excite, which is a loose glitter. Obviously this is going to be a bit more difficult to use, but that's it there. Oh my god, guys, these are swatching unreal. Infatuated, again, loose glitter, gonna need a bit of work with it. Just be careful. And then we've got Kinky. Oh my god, look at that one. Those shades are insane and they swatch really, really well. So I'm going to take the concealer now, which is a little bit stiff. That's it there. Secret. That swatches really well. Tease. It's a little bit on the patchy side, just a little bit. Raw. That's swatched really well. Charmed. Oh my god, guys, that is beautiful. And then finally, Teddy. So I actually am really, really happy with the pigmentation them, guys. I'm actually super excited, but we'll see how we get on when we apply them on the eyes. Okay, so I know I just swatched them. I haven't used them on my eye, but I'm actually quite impressed with these. I can already tell that the formula is a little bit smoother. Even blending them out with my finger is so much different than the mauve palette. The concealed eye product, I'm kind of a little bit confused about it. It just feels very sticky and kind of like Vaseline to me. And I understand what she was kind of trying to do with this product. I'll try it on my eye, obviously, and see how I get on. But I'm not really sure that this one is warranted in the palette. Like, I would have maybe switched that out for a different eyeshadow. I'm going to test this out on my eyeballs. I have no idea what I'm going to do. It's actually quite fitting that I'm wearing this color top. So just because I know I'm going to be working with loose shadows and stuff like that, I'm going to apply some of these shadow shields just underneath my, well, on the side of my eye and underneath my eye. So I'm going to start priming my eyelids with my Morphe eyeshadow base. I'm not going to take the concealer from this palette because I actually feel like the concealer might work better to stick down the glitters. I feel like that's probably the purpose of it. So I'm just going to normally prime. Obviously I don't want my primer to budge, so I'm going to take the shade Base, which I reckon is going to be a good one for setting my base, my eyeshadow base. I'm going to apply that all over the lid. This hopefully will help the shadows go on a bit better. So far, this shadow is nice. I'm going to take the shade Play here, and it's like a peachy shade. I'm just going to pop that into my crease. So from dipping my brush into it, I am noticing just a tiny little bit of kick up. I don't know if you guys can see that. Nothing kind of crazy, but just a little bit there. I'm just going to pop this right through my crease. I'm very happy with the pigmentation from this. Like, it's a really, really light peach shade, but it's just coming up quite well on the eyes. So I'm going to bring this a little bit higher than my natural crease. Like I said, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to be doing today with the eyes, but sure, we'll just wing it like we do all the time. Okay, so far I'm already getting better payout, better blendability, like a little bit nicer of a wash of shadow on my eye than the mauve palette. So I think it's clear to me that there is a little bit of inconsistencies in the mauve palette. Okay, so on that same brush, I just kind of wiped it down a wee bit. I'm going to take the shade Lace. So it's more of a mauvey, purpley tone, and I'm just going to place it on top of that Play shade, basically. And just kind of keep it a little bit under it. So it'll be like Play and then Lace just a bit under that. Again, with the same brush that I used to apply Play with. Oh my god, I'm just so shook over the way that these shadows are blending together. They're just blending so well. There's no major fallout on my eyes from that shade Lace, but there is a little bit of kickback along the palette. Like, you can see it kind of coming out. It's not like a major issue for me, but exactly what is happening, what I thought would happen, is some of the shadow has kind of fallen into that concealer shade. So I now need to kind of wipe it out, but just, I suppose if you just use your finger just to clean it off every single time you use it, you won't have like a buildup of shadow in it. I'm kind of happy with the color concentration I have there. It's really airbrushed, quite blended out. exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to deepen up the crease a little bit more, and I'm going to take the shade Spanked here. I'm just going to take it really lightly because I don't want to go too cray cray, but just a little touch of this into the crease. Again, just keeping it kind of lower than the other shade I use, Lace. Just like feeling for the socket with my brush and just kind of putting it right in there. Okay, so I do feel that this shadow is just a little tiny bit patchy, like it's kind of skipping a little bit in there. I might be able to fix that just with a bit of blending. Next, I'm going to take this shade Love Bite here, which is a deeper purple shade, like one of my favorite shades actually in the palette, that one and Spanked. I think they're lovely. I'm just going to pop that right onto the outer corner of my eye. Actually, I'm going to take it on a smaller, more detailed brush because I'm going to kind of concentrate some shadow out there. Okay, I'm actually going to go in with the concealer now, and I'm just going to carve out the inner portion of my eye to kind of create like a cut crease. So I think I'm going to take the shade Daydream, I think, this one here. And I'm going to pop that into the inner portion of my eye. Now, I know you're supposed to use your fingers, so I'm going to try as best as I can. I'm just going to pop that right in. Oh my god. Okay. It's a bit tricky, actually, with your fingers because obviously I have nails on. So I'm going to take a little tiny detail brush. I know this is not what you're supposed to do, but it's probably all I can do. And I'm just going to bring it the whole way in there. Actually, this is working just fine. So you can take a detailed brush with this product. So I'm going to go in with the shade Charmed, which is this one down here. And I'm going to put that in the center of my eye. I'm going to take it on a brush as well. Not noticing a huge difference between the two of them on my eye. Maybe I'll take a bit of Crave as well and just put it over it. Gonna go back in with Lace and just kind of blend out over the top of those eyeshadows. And then just to deepen up the outer V again, I'm just going to take Love Bite on that brush and just kind of like brush it over the other shade as well, just to kind of make sure there's no harsh line. Okay, so I'm going to pop some of that base shade underneath my brow, just to kind of brighten up underneath the brow bone, and just into the inner tear duct as well, just to open that area too. And I'm just going to apply some wing liner. Okay, so lashes are on, and now I'm going to just finish off the eyes because I look strange. And I'm going to take the shade Lace and just pop that all underneath the lower lash line, and then I'm going to apply, I think, the darker shade Love Bite, yes, to the outer corner of the lower lash line. Okay, so we are finito with the eyes, and I just kind of want to discuss the palette as I like wrap up and kind of just like round up what my thoughts are on the palette. I will say that I've had the best experience with this palette out of all of Huda Beauty's palettes that I've tried in the past. The rose gold one is the only one I can kind of compare the formula to. I loved the rose gold palette formula. I do feel, however, that there are a couple of shades in this that are a little bit kind of difficult enough to work with, especially these deeper shades here, because they do kind of skip a little bit on the eye. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. Before I go on any more about the shadows, the concealer, I just, no, that was a bad thought. Whatever happened there with that, no. I feel like most of my eyeshadows are getting stuck in it. I will still stick with my NYX glitter glue if I'm using any of the loose shadows or the glitters in it. I was going to try some of the glitters today, but I just feel like just with the look that I was going with, they just weren't what I was reaching for. I do find that these shades like Daydream, Fantasy, what are they actually called again? They are reflective eyeshadows. I felt that they were a little bit similar on the eyes, so there wasn't like a whole lot of difference with them on the eyes. Obviously, like when you swatch them and stuff, they look very different, but once on my eyes, I didn't really feel like they showed up quite different. Like I just felt like they kind of mixed into one, if that makes any sense. I still really enjoyed them and thought the formula was great, and you don't need to use your fingers, as we've discovered from my application with a brush. I loved the shade Lace and Play. I thought they were great, and I didn't feel like there was too much like fallout down my face. I used the shadow shields, but the majority of shadow on the actual shadow shields is from the outer corner. Ooh. It was from the outer corner where I was actually blending onto the shadow shield, and it wasn't really like from fallout down my face. So who do I recommend this palette to? I guess anybody who really likes Huda Beauty's eyeshadows in general. Those of you who maybe don't own any Huda Beauty shadows and you kind of are drawn to this one, obviously this was a go-to for me, because you guys know like the colors that I love on my eyes are kind of like everything that's in here, the purples and the mauve shades. I have seen a lot of people say that this isn't a beginner friendly palette. I don't necessarily agree with that, because you could be a beginner and be an absolute pro at eyeshadows. I think what they're trying to say is like the layman, the everyday person, which would be me. I'm not a makeup artist. I have no skills whatsoever in makeup. I just enjoy putting it on my eyes and putting it on my face. But I think this would possibly be catered to someone who has been using makeup for a little while and maybe kind of has a knack for using eyeshadows. I do feel like if you were a beginner, the only thing I would say is you could get a little bit frustrated with it, because it does take a little bit of work to kind of like blend out some of these darker shades and stuff like that. And definitely with the loose glitters and the multi-reflect shadows, I feel like they might be just a little bit more difficult. I do recommend this eyeshadow palette. I actually think it is quite decent. In fact, it's amazing. I really like it, and I'm actually shocked that I like it, because it was not something I was like even considering, only for the discount I got, and then you guys said you wouldn't mind seeing the video on it, and I was just kind of like vibing with the colors, and it was like really drawing me in. So I got sucked in and bought it. I really like this eyeshadow palette. I feel like it's my favorite Huda Beauty eyeshadow palette I've ever used. I think she did a great job with the formula. I think the colors are so cohesive and beautiful. I love the colors, and I just really liked how it worked on my eyes. I just feel like it blended out really well. I love the shades. I love everything about it. So what more can I say about this palette? I highly recommend it. Possibly not as your very first eyeshadow palette, or even as your second eyeshadow palette, but definitely if you're into makeup and you love like experimenting with makeup, then that eyeshadow palette will be a go-to for me. I don't have any more to say on the eyeshadow palette. Obviously, it's just a first impression, so I will kind of give you a little bit more information maybe in my monthly favorites, you know, hits and misses, where I kind of like recap over the products I've tried in the month and whether they're good or not. So do keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much, guys, for watching today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see all you guys in my next one. Mwah! Bye, guys.